Hey, Natalie.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm hearing you great.
Are you laughing because of this headset?
Huh?
Everyone laughs at me for having this headset. Got like a
I
little plant in it. I was like,
didn't actually to the mic. I think the headsets with the mic is cool still.
thank you for that. You know, you're
Yeah,
probably the only person that thinks it's cool.
yeah. I always think the headsets with the mic, it always give a great aesthetic.
I just feel like I know some like I'm on the phone. You know, when people just have the pods, I'm like, I don't know who you're talking to. Like, are you talking to me? Are you talking to someone on the phone? Here,
Exactly.
I'm talking on the phone. I'm busy.
Exactly, yo.
How are you?
I am good. It's hot. I
Yeah,
wish
it
I was
really
at
is.
the beach. So I
I know.
just put put the background on just to give me some hope, you
Oh
know.
my gosh.
But
I
other
can,
than that, it's really hot. Like
it
it's
is really hot. I've got a fan on me right now because I was like, how am I going to do this?
I got one from the back,
Oh,
like
okay.
coming in here. So it's like on the wall, coming in on the back, and then the windows are open. So
Oh man. It is hot. How
yeah, I
many
just
people are you expecting today, Jamila?
so we had about 7 people RSVP
Oh, okay.
a session, but I just checked in with some of the RSVPs and they're not able to join. So I'm waiting on the others. Probably 2 out of that 7 so that they won't be able to join. So I'm waiting on the others. I sent the updates and everything. A few moments before.
No, no problem. I feel like
Yeah. So I haven't been getting through to Nicola either. So I'm not sure what's going on. Just giving it a few more minutes and then we can see what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but what have you been up to otherwise?
Well, I'm going back to the UK on Wednesday for a few months for work and family. So, I'm just preparing for that transition mentally
Yeah.
because it's
You're in Jamaica currently?
I'm in Jamaica. Yeah, I've been in Jamaica since end of, end of January.
Oh, cool. You've been
Yeah.
here for a bit, man. Been here for
Yeah.
wow. For some reason I thought you were overseas.
No, I did go overseas for a little bit. I went to Cuba for a bit in March, but apart from that, I've been here. But I
Mm.
moved to St. Mary, so I live
So
in
beautiful.
St. Mary with my partner, so we're living in the bush most of the time.
That is it. Bush life is
It does feel like we're a bit spoiled, so I don't really come into town or, I'm just trying to um I like living like close to the land. It's like that's what I like. So we have an internet connection and I set up my laptop there and I do all my work there, but really and truly we're trying to grow things. We're trying to, figure it out, a way of being.
hmm Is it like a permaculture setup?
I think we had that intention, but whether you could call it that, I don't know. Like we grow it and we eat it. That's it. I just kind of think there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. It takes a lot of like there's just a lot of work to do and money. Money. Like you need money to
Exactly.
set this stuff up. Like
Definitely. For real.
so we're triggered. I think the first thing we have to do is the water because we do get rainfall. And every time the rain falls, we're like, oh my gosh, we should be catching this because we have to pay for the water because we get it
Mhm.
delivered in the tank. So we're trying to figure out how to do that on the roof. We have a big corrugated roof. So there's ways to do it. We just have to then again invest the money to like put the infrastructure. That's the first project. Then we've got a compost heap to build. Then we've got like a herb garden we need to do. You know, like there's loads of these things that we are starting, but it's just
Mhm.
so for now, we just eat what we can off the land. And yeah, it's a journey, you know, it's a journey.
What have you guys done so far in terms of the setup? Have you guys like planted food and like what are
Yeah,
that you've planted?
potatoes, pak choy, like the greens, and then peppers. Yeah, those are the main ones that we've got like in a lot of, because I think they're the ones that we're trying to sell as well. But there is also jackfruit, obviously bananas, those things. Then we're looking at how to grow more pumpkin, but also my partner, she's learning about hydroponics. She's like
Mm,
very interested in hydroponics. I'm less interested in hydroponics, honestly, but I think she's more like, no, I need to be on this because of the climate. Like, we need to get used to this. So
exactly.
she's, yeah, that's where she's coming from. She's like, we're going to be prepared. Um, and I think she's going to try grow some lettuce that way, see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she makes music, so it's like it's kind of a creative environment to just do the things that we do. I teach yoga, so I'm doing that. So it's just like a good environment to be based in, to be able to just, you know, do what we're doing. So we'll see what happens after that. Yeah. It's quite a life change though. I mean, my family think I'm like mental. They're just like, you've gone to Jamaica to live on the land. Like for people who haven't like, I don't know, even thought about it, I guess it's quite difficult for them to imagine like what life is like, but I'm pretty sure if they saw it, they would be jealous. We also have a stream, so we've been, you know, using the water from that. We wash there, we do rituals there, we do our things there, and it's just when it's really hot like this, it's just really nice to have that.
I
Very
love,
lucky. You have to come and visit us. Yeah.
yeah, we're in St. Mary. Like what area is it?
Do you know Haywood Hall or
Haywood
no?
Hall.
It's opposite, so it's not far from Buccaneers. You know, there's like a Knutsford that stops in Port Maria in Buccaneers.
And
It's not
I
far
don't
from
even
there.
know why I asked you where in St. Mary because I'm not so familiar with it, to be honest with you. But funnily enough, I visited a friend of mine's space the other day in St. Mary.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yes, and it was River Edge. I
Oh
don't know if you know that
nice.
area,
Oh,
but
I
it's
think
like,
yeah, I think I do know that area. Yeah, that's the pretty part. It's really pretty, St. Mary. I think it's really lovely.
we have Whitney here. Hey,
Hi,
Whitney.
Whitney.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Hey, are you able to unmute your video?
I'm in a state right now, but I could try in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
No problem. We're just waiting for a few more people to join. So I'm gonna give them 5 more minutes, and if not, we'll just start with us. But yeah, it was lovely because we did go to a river. There's a river on the property, and there's a lot of renovation that needs to be done, but it was amazing to visit, you know, and I've been drawn to St. Mary a lot lately. So yeah,
You're
can
gonna come.
make it a trip one of these days for sure. When you say leaving?
Well, that's the problem. I'm leaving on Wednesday, so I probably won't be here for a bit. But what's something I want to do when I come back is like organize like a group of women to do like a hike because there's some beautiful hikes. But it's something you wouldn't probably want to do just on your own or like as two people. You might want to do it in a group. So I think it's like really beautiful. You can walk along the like it's just really beautiful. I just think it's so beautiful and I think it's really bright and natural and it's just lovely. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
Somebody actually said this to me. They said if St. Mary was a color, it'd be yellow. It's like, I
I
think that's
love
true.
that. The Paris is by color, what?
Yeah, she's like, if it was a color, it would be yellow, you know? I was like, yes.
I would agree with that actually. That feels right. I think if Saint Anne was a parish, it would be, if it was a not Saint Anne, if Saint Anne was a color, it would be peach.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah,
actually really true. What would
definitely.
what would you say Portland would be?
It's giving me you know that dark kind of green.
Oh, I saw the same thing. I was like, I want to say green, but is that just a bit bait? Yeah, it is. Yes.
It
Rich.
that's what it gives me. Like that dark green. It's like the shadow of this tree behind me. You see it? The dark
Yeah.
part of the leaves, but it's like that dark green. Um, Kingston would give me like a neon color, to be honest with you. 'Cause it's like
Reflective yellow. No, I don't even know. A neon
uh,
color. Yeah.
it's probably giving me like maybe neon yellow, you're right. For real. All right.
Yeah,
I
neon.
think it's safe to start because I'm not getting any responses from anybody yet, and I think they trickle in when they can. So
Okay.
let me see.
I feel on the spot now. I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I can answer.
It's like, I don't see this as pressuring, to be honest, just as
No.
because it's just a conversation.
Okay.
And it's a getting to know process. And I was hoping everybody would come back because, they wanted the session for us, dive deeper into the conversation, but
Yeah, they did.
we can. And we give thanks for this time. Thank you for your time again to come back with us.
No, bro.
It's the first time we've ever had a part two of a session. Each month we have different guest speakers, but we decided to have this month to be a part two, you know? So it was a very enlightening conversation last time, so we definitely can dive a little deeper. We have Whitney here with us, Whitney Millinard, or Melinard, correct me if I'm wrong on the last name pronunciation, Whitney, and apologies in advance. But we connected and I know of her through the Caribbean Climate Tracker journalism fellowship that I did. I sent you a few articles that I did through them.
Mm,
And Whitney's from Dominica. So
okay.
invited her to be a part of the group. And you too, I should send you the link if you're interested in being a part
Yeah,
of that.
please do.
So
Oh, yeah, can I?
definitely.
Nice.
I'm gonna send the links in the chat in a bit. But yeah, Whitney's amazing. I love her work. She got awarded. I forget what you got awarded, but congratulations. And yeah, I'll just start around the table in terms of introductions. So I'm just gonna do an opening and then go into the intro. So I just want to say again, everybody, thank you so much for coming. Whitney, a pleasure to be here with you. Even if it's just you today, we give thanks. And I think this is a great introductory meeting for us. Um, I'm Jamila Falak. I'm the regional youth leader at the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance. And welcome, Whitney. Welcome back, Natalie. And for those of you who are going to be seeing this recording, who were also present in April's session, you'll remember how powerful this session was and how soul nurturing it was. And for context, for Whitney, we'll aim to explore deeper the theme that is Root to Rise, Youth, Land, and Regenerative Futures, and the sacred work of reconnecting to land and purpose. And it sparked so many reflections and questions and inspirations, so much so we knew immediately that we needed to have this part two. So thank you again for being here. And today is definitely dedicated to any questions that may come up, any curiosities or voices. And it's a space, as I said before, to go deeper and create room for more conversation and clarity. And so, as I mentioned before, it's always necessary for us to just have our cameras on in the meetings. as you know, we are literally in different parts of the world, in different spaces. So this is one of the unique moments we get to connect and build in our connection, and the presence within the space. And also feel free, if you can't talk in the space that somebody's talking, to just use the chat box and to drop your affirmations, to drop your questions, any takeaways and reflections as we go along. And if you're not speaking, again, I ask you kindly to just mute your microphone and to just ensure clarity for everyone. And don't forget, you can always sign up to be a member. We're doing a membership drive for the Carifil Alliance right now. We're welcoming amazing change makers across the Caribbean and at large, who are affiliated with the Caribbean, to sign up with us. We have different membership tiers. So if there are any, well, when I send the link in the chat in a bit, you can definitely check it out and see what refers to you. But our youth hub members always go for the change maker tier, so you can check that out. So yeah, let's dive into our quick check-in. So I introduced myself, and I'll hand over now to Whitney. You can definitely just tell us about you, what you do, and we'll pass the baton over to Natalie.
Oh my gosh. So I wasn't expecting to do all of this. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Jamala. My name is Whitney Melina. I'm from Dominica. So I am currently a research associate at the UK Philanthropy. I am also a social and climate justice advocate. That's my area of work, my area of advocacy. Yes, we met in the Caribbean Climate Tracker Justice Journalism Fellowship. I did some articles, still working on it actually. So my first article was on my tribe, the Kalinago tribe in Dominica, and the work that we're doing, or the work that we're starting, the research that we recently did on the impact of climate change on culture, specifically 4 aspects of our culture. That would be our basket making, our medicinal herbs, boat making, and our indigenous cuisine, to see the impact there and then move forward from evidence-based research that involves our youth and our community members. So that's where I'm at right now. Also heavily interested in human rights. So yeah, and yes, I did register as a change maker, and that's where I went. Yeah, definitely.
Amazing, amazing work. And a short plug. I love Dominica. I've never been. Not yet.
Invitation, sending us an invitation right now. So you can
I'll
come.
be there ASAP. Over to you, Natalie.
Thank you, Whitney. It's so sorry, my friend just decided to move my speaking. It's so nice to meet you, and thank you for sharing all that. This climate tracker sounds like a really cool thing that's brought some really interesting people together. So I definitely want to like join as a change maker. I think it sounds great. And it's also really nice to see so many women in the space who are owning their power and like how to what climate justice means to us. So I am a earth justice and consultant, and I say earth justice because in the global north, there tends to be a certain rhetoric around climate justice that seems to kind of still embody a lot of the white supremacist ideas of disconnection to the land. So I say earth justice because we are part of it. We are part of the earth. We're not subjects. So that's kind of my focus. I live in Jamaica most of the time, but I am, as you can tell from my accent, from the UK, as in I was born there. My mother is Indian heritage, but she was born in East Africa. So a lot of my knowledge or understanding of living with the land and being in connection with the land comes from a mixture of Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, as well as India. My grandparents were farmers in India. So I think that's kind of passed through to me. And I've always had this kind of deep desire to return back to the land. And it just so happens that I have been so lucky and so blessed that Mother Nature in Jamaica has hosted me for a while to practice some of those things, and where so many of our histories have collided in various ways. So it's a real treat to be here. I support organizations in philanthropy in the UK change from a language of giving to redistribution. And it's quite a fundamental shift because at the moment, the culture, and I'm glad you brought up like culture, because I think the culture has been, after many years of extraction, that there's this somehow this sort of like aid mentality, this giving, this charitable objective, when actually we need to get more down to the nitty-gritty of what is redistribution and what does that look like specifically for global north philanthropy. I'm being quite specific about that here. Like I think it's different when you go to different spaces where they collected their money, and we still have a lot of philanthropic organizations in the UK that that money was hoarded through slavery. So it's really important we name those things. And that's the kind of work I'm doing over that side. But when I'm here, I'm talking to communities. I'm very involved, or I would say embedded in gender justice in Jamaica, and really keen to connect with other people in climate so we can really talk about what remembering, returning, and climate stuff means to us, which is different depending where you're from. So yeah, really happy to be here. I can't thank you enough, Jamila. You are a gem for hosting this space and bringing so much positive energy to it. I think that's what is regenerative and that's what works. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So much brilliance in the house, you know, really, and for the earth and the climate and the works and the land, which is a huge part of the work. So thank you both for the work that you do. And again, happy to have you a part of the alliance. That's a part of what the alliance does, you know. Empower women, indigenous communities, the climate activism, all of it. And so to have you both in the space means a lot. So we have Vincent here who joined us. Vincent, are you able to unmute your microphone or unmute your camera as well? You're muted in case you're talking. I don't know what the temperature is like for you in Dominica, Whitney, but it's hot over here in Jamaica.
I'm actually based in Barbados. I probably should have said
Oh,
that.
you're in, yeah. I mean, oh, so you're not actually on island. Ah,
I try to go home as much as possible though, like every other month. Yeah.
I got you. Well, that's good to know. We have a few people in the hub who are in Barbados, doing some work as well. So it would be great to connect you with them to see what can happen on ground there. What are you currently doing in Barbados? Sorry to cut you.
Research associate at the UWI Cable campus. I'm actually on campus.
Oh, great. Oh, amazing.
And it is also extremely hot over here as well. So,
Wishful thinking, you know, I just put on this background because I was like, I'd love to go to the beach right now. I don't think I can do that today, but either way, this is the closest we'll get. So I'm not hearing from Vincent, so I'll just dive in. So Whitney, were you able to click on the link that was sent out in terms of the guest speakers for today to do a little research on like Natalie and Nicola?
no, I wasn't able to. As far as I got was the little bio that you had in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, so we've heard what Natalie does. She went more extensive in the other session prior to this one. But this is definitely like a space for us to just open and ask any questions that we have, right? So Natalie, just to transition smoothly, could you just give us a refresher in terms of the work that you do? I know you mentioned briefly in your introduction, but in terms of your climate work, in terms of your philanthropy work, and what you had presented last time. Could you just give us who's here today, just a brief overview, and then we can dive into some questions.
No problem. Sorry, I'm gonna turn this down because it's gonna blow in my microphone. I get really awkward about talking about myself, so bear with me. I'm older than I look, so I have been in the sort of non-profit funding space for possibly about 15 years now, and it's not been so centered on the climate space until recent years. I have kind of been working for larger funds like Malala Fund and more kind of international funds. That was kind of in my early career. I did a master's in human rights, but my master's specialized on racial reconciliation, which is a process that South Africa went through. And through that process, I was really able to understand that so much healing cannot happen without economic justice. So that kind of took me on a trajectory under trying to understand the link, or kind of deepen the work between the link between race, class, and global economics. And that kind of propelled me to where I'm at now. But through that time, I began working for Black and racially minoritized organizations in the UK when I was still there, who were facing closure and all kinds of economic injustice, being in the minority in a predominantly white country. When I moved to Jamaica, I became very involved in permaculture. So I would actually say I'm still a member of Solidarity Yard, that's based in Jamaica. I did my permaculture design certificate there, and I then went on to work for One Regeneration, which is led by Roger Malcolm, and we curated a course which is now evolving into many courses around permaculture and making it Caribbean led as opposed to anywhere else, and for Caribbean people. And something that I have realized even through doing the permaculture stuff that I've done is it still has quite a Eurocentric lens, permaculture, which doesn't necessarily help if you are in an environment or a context that is very different to that, or a way of approaching the land. And it was through that that I really deepened my understanding. I am also a yoga teacher. That is something that was passed down to me from my grandmother, to my mum, to me. So it's not like I was doing it long before it was trendy. And now I teach it in a way from a decolonized approach, actually, which is more about what the practice means to our people, our history, and what it was really about at its roots, and how we can use it as a vehicle for everyone to access their own spirituality. So in the case of the Caribbean, something I have explored and found really interesting is there has always been a mix and a blend of South Asian history and culture on the islands, and how yoga has had this role in the ecosystem of allowing people to use it to access their own spirituality. So by that, I mean African spirituality, which I think is great. And so I'm a big advocate of pranayam, which is the particular practice that I focus on, which is to do with the breath. And I utilize that to explain in ways that aren't so academic-y to people who don't think that this work is for them, to really show that we are all a part of this and we are all part of the climate justice movement. And it really isn't down to just specialists to be involved. Anybody and everyone can access it. If you can breathe, if you can have a relationship with the trees in that way, you're a part of it. And I really love to demystify some of these terms and make it as simple and as accessible as possible for absolutely anyone and everyone to be involved. I think sometimes there is an assumption that you have to like know a lot of things or be super researched and have attended loads of conferences or, you know, have studied this to be able to talk about the climate, and that's not true. And I really do believe at the moment my purpose or my sort of like what feels quite strong to me is really helping demystify that. It should be accessible to everyone, just as yoga should be accessible to everyone, regardless of class, race, gender, background, whatever. You can access it. It's free to you. It's yours. So that kind of informs how I do the rest of my work. When I'm talking about redistribution, when I'm talking about moving funds, when I'm designing mechanisms to make it easier for people to just channel that money where it needs to go instead of where they want to give it. I really talk about our relationship with ourselves and using breath and nature as a guide to be in contact with what is true as opposed to perceptions in maybe in our mind. That sounded a bit like lofty. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, that's a little bit about me. But please tell me if I've missed something because I feel like I just blabbered on there.
I think that was a great summary. And no, everything was clear to me. I don't know if Whitney has any questions. Vincent, I don't know if you're finally on, but could you just test in with us, touch in with us to see if you're here? Unmute your microphone if possible. Would love to have you be a part of the conversation. But yeah, Whitney,
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
greetings. Are you able to come on camera?
Not right now.
All right, no problem. But yeah, were you here last meeting?
I, I don't think so.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
so this is your
I,
first time meeting Natalie.
no, it's not my first time meeting her, though. It's not my first.
Okay, great. Well, great to have us all in the space. What you could do for us before we go into the questions, Vincent, is just, give us a brief of who you are. Whitney is here with us. She just joined the Alliance a few days ago. So you could she's from Dominica, and you could just give us a brief of who you are and we can just dive in.
All right. I'm basically a junior civil engineer who specializes in structural engineering and environmental. So that's a little summary of who I am, of what I do, right? I actually became involved in sustainability from 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 around 2018 when I actually did a course called sustainability engineering, right? And from there, actually like following environmental projects that's all about the preservation of the environment.
Amazing. Yeah, and yeah, you're in Jamaica still, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay. So we met, I believe it was through the Keep Jamaica Clean series.
yeah,
Yeah, so from ever since, which was in 2022, I believe, we've been affiliated. We've been affiliated with the Alliance from then. So it's great to have you here in the meetings. And you heard what Natalie had the brief that Natalie had just given. So we're gonna dive right into some questions. And I know I have some questions from the last meeting, so I came with questions. But I'll just start off and Whitney, Vincent, if you have any questions, definitely please let's keep the conversations going. All right.
okay,
So my first question would be Natalie, right? I love that you blend your work of redistribution of philanthropic funds, and I love that you integrate your work of yoga into your work. The integration I feel is immaculate, especially being somebody who is heavily into the wellness practices as well. I see how that can help us to understand who we are and who we are as an extension of the earth and why it's important to take care of the earth in the ways that we have subconsciously been neglecting, right? So how have you been finding the practice of integration of yoga and the climate work and philanthropy work being navigated across the span of the work that you do with the people that you interact with? How has this integration impacted your community at large?
That's a good question. So something else that this kind of like nexus of these two worlds led me to do was study a course called The Trauma of Money. Now, the trauma of money is really about justice, but it's also about what happens to our bodies and our minds and our spirits when we come into contact with money. Now, the way I like to explain it is money is like water. It's kind of neutral in the sense where it is not like, it doesn't have a positive or negative charge. It's the meaning that we project onto it. So money itself is kind of like water. We have to kind of redistribute it. But the system or the water system that has been built to move this money has clearly got reservoirs in some region, and some people are still waiting with trickles. And there's literally this economic model called the trickle down approach. If we think of it like water, it's not going to work quite that way. So I utilize that metaphor to kind of explain to people that this is not something that is just about spreadsheets, numbers, power, and all the kind of other capitalistic meanings that we've assigned to it. This is literally life source, and it's sustenance for people to be in community, exchange it within their communities, and grow more of it within their communities. So I try and use that to help. Another thing that I've noticed is sometimes people who have historically oppressed or from historically oppressed groups, when they receive money, interesting things happen in the body. And this is related to, depending where the source of the money has come from, the reason they've got the money, and the expectations or kind of like the covert contract with that. And I use this term covert contract because I think there is the real contract. Thank you. There is the real contract that is about like the legal stuff. And then there's also sometimes this covert contract that no one really talks about that is kind of implied. Now, what I see happening is that people in global north countries have this covert contract that we can ask you for any information that we want from you. We can kind of harvest from you whenever we like. And I mean, I'm saying it quite bluntly. I don't think it's a conscious thing, but I think because we exist in this kind of like global system of extraction, it's become quite normal for global South countries to feel completely or just be completely extracted and exploited by global North countries. So I look at how there's the contracts, the legal contracts that people get when they receive money, but there's also what is the covert contract here and how can we have healthier language around it? How do we talk about conflict? How do we talk about when there's a difference of opinion or a difference of view, or how do we accept boundaries from people when they say, no, that's not what I'm going to do for you? There's a temptation when someone is giving you money to kind of appease them or do whatever it needs because you need that money. But we can collectively start to have boundaries over how we relate to the people who are still in their minds giving this money, but are actually redistributing for economic justice. That's how it should be understood, in my opinion. How yoga helps is it allows people to come out of their brains and into their bodies and connect with not just themselves, the air around them, and their truest essence. And however naively, I really do believe that we are able to access that place. And we are able to, from that place, we are able to access and release fear, release scarcity, release these kind of things that tell us we have to do it this way, and allow us to just understand money as like this life source energy, like water that we just can redistribute and share around. It goes in cycles, and there's ways to re-top up your cup. If you give it to someone else, it doesn't mean you're going to be dry forever, So it's just helps me frame a more kind of embodied relationship with what has historically been balance sheets about power, politics, and money, um almost like appeasing on both sides, like we're causing damage in this area, so if we give you money over here, it kind of cancels it out. And there's people who are like, well, we're doing all of the work that you should be doing, but we need the money from you to help us. And there's this very interesting exchange that happens that we don't really speak about in clear terms. I think it's okay to name what these exchanges are. I think it helps us understand how we can exist in an ecosystem that's helping the earth, rather than just looking at each other's priorities from quite self-centered aims. I think it helps us both face the, or when I say both, I'm talking about two sides of the table, the funder and the grantees. But if birds are facing the direction of the earth, we can move together in a way that's more helpful. I think if we're just focused on each other, it can sometimes lead to this push and pull that gets money stuck. In a lot of instances, I see that's how money gets stuck. And it's really not on the grantee to change that. It is also on the side of funders to recognize where accountability can be happening in practice, and to overcome the fears of it, overcome the fears of that through your body and through breathing and through being connected and releasing the need to control everything. So I don't know if that answered your question. It's quite hard to explain.
And I think for those of us who don't know what yoga is, for the record,
Mhm.
how would you explain what yoga is, so that people have an understanding or base context to the concept of yoga and the integration that you do?
So yoga is actually called yog and Sanskrit, and it originates in South Asia, which is where my family are from, and it has very, very old roots. There are definitely other forms of yoga that have existed as well, including Kemetic yoga in Africa. There are different ways and languages that we have for these different practices, but the one I'm referring to originates from the Sanskrit ancient language that was formed like thousands and thousands of years ago in South Asia, and it is a philosophy, but it's also a deep religion. I guess it's not quite like the organized Hinduism that you see today, but it has roots in the indigenous people of that land. That is the original kind of roots of it. However, when the British came to colonize South Asia, they were particularly fascinated by the monks and the gurujis who would live in the mountains. And part of the monks, the kind of people who reach this stage of, we call it samadhi, which is like accessing peace, they lost the need for material things. So they didn't crave clothes, they didn't crave wealth and riches, and they kind of surrendered to death, which meant that it was very difficult to instill fear in them. It was very difficult to colonize them because they were not afraid of dying. And nothing could bribe them because they'd released. And part of their ways of engaging with the earth was very reciprocal, but also fasting is a part of our culture where there wasn't as, it was very difficult to bribe them, basically. And so you can't, what was interesting about this history is that the British were a bit lost as to what is with these people who are not afraid of anything we do. There was guns to their head and they weren't afraid because they'd already accepted their next life. So it was something that the British found very interesting and fascinating. And they actually put monks in cages and brought them back to the UK to try and do tests on them to understand how they got like this. There was also like quite a lot of negative when you look back at history around how yoga was explained. It was kind of explained as some sort of like barbaric, like primitive. I mean, the language around it even was very disrespectful. More than anything, the British were very interested in how to colonize it and how to use it. And they did in a lot of ways. Leaders used it, have used it, unfortunately still are using it. Modi does it around how to kind of keep people in line with a discipline that keeps them going. So there are many different versions of yoga that you will see in the world today, and not all of them are its original text or how it was meant to be in the world. The other thing is capitalism came along, and I think there was like a couple of yogis who went over to America, and LA absolutely loves them. So there was this sudden like splurge. I think it was around the 60s and 70s, also around the kind of the 70s was kind of like there was a free love movement, and they really loved this yoga thing, and it kind of exploded in the West. And when it exploded in the West, we kind of grieve that moment, because it means that now the interpretation of yoga is quite a whitewashed version, with a big emphasis and focus on postures, when that is just one of the 8 limbs of yoga. It's been quite distorted and taken out of its truest form, and it's a lot more packaged for people to get involved with, enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I believe I know that Jamaicans understand when I'm saying this. There's a difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation, and what we are seeing of yoga is cultural appropriation, and I'm very clear on that. And so you might see that side of yoga. You also might engage with Kemetic yoga. Kemetic yoga has a totally different history. Black people have always been involved in Kemetic yoga. Another thing I really want to emphasize is that there are many places in the world where Black and brown people have always coexisted and shared philosophies and culture, not just in the Caribbean, in East Africa, in South Africa, in South Asia, and many countries across the world, where there has been an exchange of African spirituality and Hinduism. And there was a lot of movements that utilized this sacred connection and exchange of histories and exchange of practices to resist the colonizers together. And I find that such a beautiful aspect of it. And when I teach it, I am really trying to allow people to access that. The fact that this is something that we can utilize as to resist together. And it's a shared history. It's a shared practice. It doesn't belong to anybody. It is just a shared practice. It was never meant to be appropriated and used for the way it's being used, but it can be restored and remembered for the real purpose, which is justice. It's very rooted in justice. It's not all love, peace, and keep breathing and moving on. That's not what it is. It's really grounded in a total consciousness shift in your relationship with your own body, your spirit, the world around you, how you treat people. Part of yoga is amhisma, which is basically like non-violence. And what that really means, and what that means is, if you see violence, and including systemic like violence, structural state violence.
How do you spell that? Is amisma?
I'll put it in the chat. But it's that's like one part of it. I kind of feel like we need to remember what these things actually mean. So they can't be used in the wrong way and to silence people or be like, oh, you can't do that because you're being violent. Ahisma is really about how we have respect for life on earth and what our relationship is with it. We don't want to violate it, and we don't want to create more violence. A lot of people who are still like living in India, I mean, meat is actually illegal in a lot of states in India. It's a predominantly vegetarian culture, even though, you know, people don't always people still love it anyway, but there's a relationship with the animals that I think is quite like we were all kind of raised with. We have a deep respect for cows, as I'm sure people know. Cows take precedent in India. You will see them sitting in the middle of the road. You will see them all over the place. And there's an understanding that they run things basically because they have like 7 different functions for humans, and that makes them superior to us. Like there's so many things that they provide humans that they have a lot of respect from us. Same with elephants. We believe that elephants have spiritual power. There is one deity called Ganesha, who is part elephant, and we really do believe that elephants are sacred animals. And again, they run things, they can walk through, they create their path, and we have to get out of the way. And that's how we have that relationship with nature. When you're brought up with that, it kind of sticks with you, and it's difficult to unlearn that. And I think there's a lot to appreciate about that. And a part of my own reclamation process was trying to interpret what that looks and means to me now in this lifetime and in this context. So yeah, there's a lot. I could talk about yoga for a long time. The actual way that the Sanskrit version is called yog. What I teach is called pranayama. Prana is life source energy, and I believe that Rastas would recognize this as liberty, the concept of liberty. Prana is very, very similar. It's related to the life source of something. So if you are eating sort of like, pure fruit and vegetables, or you're eating things with high prana content, which means they have the spirit of the earth in them, you are likely to reach a higher kind of spiritual vibration. Prana is a similar thing. Prana is like the thing that created you that you can create more of. So when I say yama is the extension of. So we have a series of practices that allow us to open and expand our natural like life source energy. So it can be through foods and things like that, but it's also through a breathing technique that is working directly with our relationship with our life source energy. I'll stop there. Sorry. I can talk about this for hours. Sorry.
I feel the extensiveness of the practice, like in general, and what I want to do is, if you're open to it, and if anybody else here is open to it, I'd love if you could, show us, some pranayam. And I guess to tag on to what you've been extensively explaining so beautifully, is the fact that the Caribbean is such a melting pot of different cultures, and especially in Jamaica, I can speak for it because I'm here. And even though I'm Jamaican, my roots aren't particularly from Jamaica. In essence, I was born here, but where I'm actually from is another story, like my lineage and my ancestors and our ancestors and so forth and so forth and so forth, right? And so the practices that I think would help us to be closer to the earth and not only ourselves is remembering or reconnecting, or Sankofa, as in some cultures would say, looking back so that we can go forward.
Yeah.
Because maybe we've really lost a sense of who we are, as to why the earth is the way it is that we're seeing it right now in terms of the climate situation and the earth and the heart of the earth and the health of the earth. If something is wrong with her, there's something wrong with us.
Yeah.
As a collective, and so if we're out of balance with ourselves, the earth is out of balance with itself or herself. So I love the concept of yoga, and the fact that there are different types of yoga and other practices that would help us to realign with ourselves so that we can remember who we are, to reconnect with the earth, so that we can at least mitigate at this point some of the symptoms that we're seeing that are probably irreversible at this point. But I feel like that's a great solution going forward, hand in hand with funding, of course, but we can't put aside the work that we also need to do for our individual selves. And it seems like that's a hard thing to do. We're with ourselves every day, but are we with ourselves every day? Are we watering ourselves every day like we should be watering our plants every day? Are we in nature every day? Are we with ourselves every day? Are we meditating? Are we checking in? So if we're out of alignment, in a nutshell, based on what you've been saying, then the earth, as a result, there is an imbalance. It's out of balance. We are as above, so below, as within, so without. There's that concept. So thank you for bringing that in. And I think before you even go into showing us some of your pranayam techniques, Maybe we could close out with that at a point. That would be great, I think. How do you feel, Whitney? How do you feel, Vincent, about us trying some pranayam to close out the session? Are you guys hearing?
Hi.
There you go.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah, sorry, I keep dropping out. I had to call my mom. Sorry.
No problem. We were asking, how do you guys feel about Natalie showing us some pranayam techniques?
Absolutely. I'm for it. If
Right.
she's comfortable.
Great. And if you guys have any questions, I am here to just open the floor for you guys to ask her some questions. I don't want to take over the session, so I'm sharing the space with you guys.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm actually just taking it all in. So while my camera was off, I was listening to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, does she have a podcast? Do you have a podcast? I was oh, it's also so soothing to hear it and
True.
somewhat different perspective. I wouldn't say different because I almost believe in everything that you said. Like it was just wow for me to hear it from somebody else as well. And so yeah, it was amazing. So I'm here. I'm just taking it all in, learning as much as I can. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Most people can't shut me up, you know. I feel like I'm quite passionate about it, and I'm always aware that some people really don't care about this. But I think it's not they don't care. It's more that they're just like, here she goes again talking about prana. I'm that person.
I think in this space, I feel comfortable because sometimes I tend to rant when I get passionate about something. I do feel that, but for some reason here, I just feel like very safe to just let all the emotions out and just speak freely. So I'm on the list end this time. So please just, it's okay. I have time.
Beautiful.
Okay.
No worries. And it's also an honor to know that you feel safe, you know, because that's the essence of any space that we should be in, a safe one, you know. So I'm grateful for that. Vincent, how about you? Do you have anything to ask? And I guess Natalie, my next question to you would be, I'm watching the time as we go along. So on the spectrum of philanthropy, right? For those who aren't so familiar with the term, to demystify the term philanthropy, and also as it relates to the redistribution of funding to persons who are either interested in funding projects or looking for spaces to redistribute funding. In the case that people do receive funding, and you did mention that, you know, we have an imbalance when it comes down to when persons receive money. What advice do you have for one, the allocation of funds, as I mentioned, and two, when persons get it, not knowing what to do with it or how to redistribute it in their spaces?
Okay. I'll try my best. Philanthropy has got a colonial history, and it has a history that is a little bit murky. Now that I want to be very clear to all of the philanthropists listening to this who are from the Caribbean, that is distinctly different in the Caribbean to global North countries, right? So I just want to make that point. But the history is kind of to almost allow a portion of some equity and bonds that have regenerated money over time to be given or to be redistributed to people who need it. However, when we dissect kind of like, and again, I'm going to be really clear, I'm referencing sort of like these old endowment bonds in the UK. I'll just use that for now. But there are some people who have hoarded power, money, land, wealth, enslaved people and extracted everything from the global south and have this like big pot of money or land or inherited wealth, right? And now what people have done historically is have parked that money in different financial structures like bonds or endowment. So this wealth has effectively generated its own profit, which has generated its own wealth, and it's just kind of like maximized. Now, what that means is that you have a few individuals who have an extortionate amount of money, and then you have lots of people who are still doing basic things to try and get basic needs met. Now, that is where I think there is a distinct imbalance in power in terms of old philanthropy has enormous amounts of generational wealth. And the people that they're giving to, even though it might sound and feel like a lot to you, if I say $100,000 for your project, that might feel like, whoa, or that might feel like, oh, that's a lot of money. The reality is, in comparison to the scale of which that generational wealth is, it's not a lot of money. But because your people have maybe you've also inherited stories about money, maybe from your family, or maybe you've found coping mechanisms to deal with money, it can feel overwhelming and like you're asking for too much. Similarly, it could feel like if I ask for a bit less than I actually need, maybe I'll get it. And this is really where we see how people often miss out on funding opportunities that they should be applying for and they should be getting. And this is also how we see some people get activated when they receive the money. Just speaking to the receiving the money now. What I have seen and witnessed in the UK, for example, is communities who have been long exploited by the British government, just say, Black people in particular. When they receive grants of money, you're also receiving money from an entity that has caused your people extreme harm to get it. And so something can happen in your body where it doesn't feel like real money. It feels like something. And it can activate the historical meaning, but also history behind this money in you. And it can start to feel like I've seen people respond to this very differently. I've seen people just like not spend anything because they're frightened of it and then they don't trust themselves with it. I've seen people want to give it away as quickly as possible because they don't want to hold on to the money and feel like they're depriving their community of it. I've seen people not even want to accept the money because they get to it and they feel like, why am I getting £100,000 for something that I like invented between my friends? A lot of different things happen to people when they are actually presented with this money. And it's really important, I think, that we understand the roots of philanthropy. We understand where that money is coming from and what has created that money. And then we also have to spend a little bit of time understanding our relationship to that history and then understanding ourselves in a context, right? Something I did report in the UK one time. This was shortly after there was Black Lives Matter uprisings, and what I found through research was the majority of Black communities in the UK were either not asking for enough money, or they were understating what they needed, and they were potentially selling themselves short, even in an application, because there was a fear around asking for too much. Now, I think that has probably replicated on a global scale too. And I think that there are a lot of people who are probably afraid of applying for something, or not even afraid, that's not the right word, just like not sure if they are qualified or they're the right people. I implore you to apply, just apply, because you're actually owed that money. That money is actually owed to you. So we need to think about it in that way. If you don't get it and it doesn't work out, it's time to recenter and remember that this is still a water system that is built in a very unfair way, and it's not to do with you. It's not to do with the quality of your work or your application or what your contribution is to the world. It's not to do with that. 9 times out of 10, in fact, I would even be so far to say 10 times out of 10, it's to do with the way that this money is moved around, and it reflects and mirrors those colonial structures that built it in the first place. So I feel like it's really important for us to put this money in context and remember it's not a gift. It's what you're owed, and it's something that we can improve our own emotional relationship with to receive it and do what we want to do with it, and to apply for it in the first place and say what you need. Don't try and go a bit under and say, well, I could make do with this much, so I'll just like make the budget a bit lower. Like, no, say what you need and put a real number on there. That's actually what it costs. And that is the best advice I can give you. I don't ask for too little. Say what you need.
And in the case, for example, right, that you do ask for what you want and you so happen to get it,
Yeah.
right?
Congratulations. Yeah.
What if you really don't even know how? So you get all right, you applied for a grant, but then you got through, but you didn't get the amount that you pitched for. Because in some cases that happens, right?
It
In
does.
case that you don't know how to even redistribute it, you don't have any advice, you don't know what to do.
Right.
What's a quick way you could advise, even youths who are new to this, on how to go about navigating getting funding?
If you get money and it's not as much as you need, the first thing you should do is write back to the funder and say that. I think often funders do this because they think they can get away with it. So go back and say, I actually need more than this. Can you help? Not even help, but like, is there a reason? What was their rationale behind giving you less than you needed? What was their rationale about that? Or how did they justify that? Right. And that will help give clarity as to okay, where they stand on it, but ask. Don't just accept what you've been given and off you go. Like, go back and ask and say, what is the reason I didn't get what I actually asked for? How did that get rationale? The second thing I would also then say is, when you have this money, don't be scared of it. Don't be scared of it. If you project your emotions onto it, it will become something that it might not be. Don't be scared of it. Don't try and give it to everyone straight away. Don't kind of like splurge. When you splurge, it can sometimes be after a long time of being in scarcity. When you get money, you just want to experience what it feels like to not have to worry about it. Just be mindful that it's okay to have a little like boop, but don't stay like that. Then think about how long you want this money to last. When you're in a position of scarcity, it's very difficult to think beyond survival. It's very difficult to think beyond like a month, even sometimes. But just question, how long do I want this money to last? Like, how much would this alleviate my stress, worry, and survival over how long? Now, something I encourage you to do is consider how it might feel with your body to spread it over a certain amount of time, giving yourself a little bit of ease over a period, as opposed to immediately alleviating what you feel you need immediately, because it will be short-lived and then it's gone. Now, that isn't like me like lecturing you like how to spend money. That's more of a like, think about your nervous system and what you deserve. You need a bit of a break, right? So if you can just ease off, just take a little bit off and spread it over a certain period, that might work better for you than if you were to just kind of do everything in one go. It really is about listening to your body and understanding like, what is the best use of this money. I also want to encourage, especially young people, get creative with money. Get creative. It's a tool. Use it like a paintbrush. Paint your reality with it. Don't just think, oh, I've got it and now I have to do this with it, or it's this, it's that. Of course it has this charge because you need it, but paint with it, imagine with it, dream with it. What could you do with this money? What could you expand it to? What do you want to do with this money? And really use your creativity with it, because you don't have to. I don't know if anyone's like into music, but a lot of music is numbers. A lot of music is numbers and shapes and geometry. You can start to create spreadsheets that might reflect the kind of dreams you're trying to realize. You can use that money in a way that, there's no right or wrong. You can create how you use it, and get creative with how you want to spread it, spend it, look after it, multiply it, whatever you want to do with it. if you're good with plants, if you like plants, it's a bit like that when you're creating a garden. You know, you have to think about how you want to distribute and what might work best for your health, when I'm saying this, I want to be very clear. I'm saying this from a privileged position because my basic needs are met right now. But when your basic needs are not met, it's harder, right? That is harder to do. But when we shift to a abundant mindset, we are more equipped to think beyond the first week or the first month of receiving a bit of money. We're able to believe that we deserve a future too. That's a lot longer than that. And plan for it because you deserve it. I don't know if that answers your question, Jamila. I feel like there's so much to say about this and it really depends on the situation. But
I think
yeah.
it gave me more than I was even expecting to get. To be honest with you, I picked up a gem when you said you get creative with money, use it like a paintbrush. Bars. I wrote that down and I am adding it to a quote for today. I see that Nicola is on. I'm so happy to have you. How are you doing? Nicola, are you here? Hey, Denise, you joined us as well. How are
Hello.
you? Oh, hey. Hey.
That I just had a problem trying to actually see the screen so on mute because of where I am. I'm so sorry about that. And so I'm joining late.
No problem. We actually have a few minutes. So if you want to just pop on, can you pop on your camera so we can see your face? Yes, there you are. Yes, so we have a few of us here today and we're happy to have you back with us. For those of us who weren't here last time, could you just give us a brief of what you do? And I would just probably ask you one question at this point, and then we do a panorama session with Natalie, a breathwork session with Natalie, and then we close out.
Okay. Let's see. Where do I start? So a brief description of what I do. Right now I'm wearing many hats. And kind of interesting because many of the hats I'm wearing is all out of things that I've designed for my life. So I'm very happy to be wearing those hats because meaning that I've manifested the things that I've wanted to do in my life. So one of the things I do, I'm part of one of the directors of Source Farm, Eco Village, and Community Development Institute. So the Eco Village is where we live, work, and play. And the institute, the Community Development Institute, is the work that I have a master's in community economic development. And so I get a chance to do that economic development work through that institute. And out of that, there are many things that we kind of grew out of that work, which is like the Ujima Farmers Market, the Organic Research Station, the work that we are currently doing with JOM, the Genesis project that we're doing with JOM going around the island. So I'm wearing many of those hats, and also had another mantle is the work that I do in terms of the priest work I do, being a Yoruba priest. Yeah, so those are the main things in my life that I'm really working, which is a lot anyway, but it's all of it's all connected, which is really beautiful. That, you know, and it's really about designing what you want, understanding what is it that your purpose, your incarnation objective, what you want to do when you're here on the planet, and getting the tools that you need to do to manifest that. So I feel like the early part of my life, I was able to go and study and work in different spaces to help build that toolkit of things to support the work that I'm doing now. Because sometimes people want it just now, and it takes work. You have to develop, you come in as a baby, you have to learn how to walk, learn how to talk, learn how to feed yourself, that kind of thing. And then you can start kind of the baby steps. So giving yourself enough time to learn the steps so that when you do come to manifest the rest of the things you come to do, you're able to do that. I don't know if that helps give you just a little bit of the background.
Yes, it's perfect and in a nutshell, I love it. And yeah, multifaceted for the earth, as we established before. Um, and yes, from the last session we had, one of the ideas that came up for me was seeing ways that even, Alliance youth members here in Jamaica could collaborate or even virtually so that the hub um can at large collaborate with the source farm. One of the ideas came up for me was to probably one on ground have come to the farm and see if we can help out or do some volunteer work with you there. And then, do some learning as well, education. And then, yeah, we could probably explore more on how that can happen. So that's one of the takeaways that I had from last session, and I wanted to run it by you and everybody here to see how that sounds, if it's something that we could probably develop on and explore a little more.
I think I'm really, it's interesting that you brought up, because this week we've been having a number of conversations about that volunteerism. And I was saying to folks that certain projects and certain things that we would normally, like I would see happen in the US or even participate in, we don't have that capacity to do that because, we just talked about, the other guest has talked about sitting in a privileged space where you can actually have time, energy to even volunteer, right? Or even apprentice, because you just are trying to do like the daily, drive of just trying to feed yourself and just keep yourself in some kind of housing, that often we don't have the opportunity to do the volunteerism as we would like to. But I think it's something that we have to like rethink and redesign our life sometimes, because I find that in the past, even in Jamaica, or I'll just tell you one quick story. Like I would volunteer. I volunteered for the School of the Deaf a number of different times over the years when I was younger. It was something I was attracted to learning sign language. And I just wanted to learn. So in order to learn it, you had to kind of immerse yourself in it. So I would go and I'd volunteer. And then through that, I would pick up different signs. And by the time I was really like pretty fluent in being able to communicate with other deaf members of our population. And my mother kept saying, "What you do that for? What you do that for?" I ended up going to the US and going to culinary school. And one of the things in the summer, you have to get a job to pay your bills and whatever between.
Are you there, Jamila?
Yeah, I was just about to ask, is it only
Oh,
me? Nicola is frozen for everyone as well?
yes, frozen.
Yeah, I think it might be because of what do you call it? Commute. She's probably commuting, so I have a little pause there. Well, I see Vinny here in the chat. I won't be able to speak due to this space. I mean, no problem. Welcome. I'm happy you could at least join us today and taking some other time. And I hope that Nicola can come back on in time. We're closing out at, I think we lost her as well. We're closing out at, our aim is 11:30, so it's usually an hour and a half. But yes, so that's one of the ideas that I had in terms of, the fact that she has a space, that's, an eco village to probably do something, but I really wanted to hear where she was going with, the story of how that could happen. But yes, who's here? Whitney, Vincent, Venice, were you able to catch any of Natalie's talk? Like, you said a couple things, Natalie, that really stood out, and what I mean when he said creative with money, use it like a paintbrush. Yeah, I'm gonna add that as the quote for today, if you don't mind. I think that's the winner quote for today. Usually there are gems that I get and I just place it into the message after everything. But I think what we can do here I don't have any more questions for you, Natalie. I think I'm pretty clear, and I just wanted to open up the space to everybody else once more. If you have anything to say, it doesn't have to be a question. Oh, here we go. Nicola is coming back in. If you have any comments, leave them in the chat and we can look at those. Nicola is entering the room again.
Hi.
Hey, Whitney.
Uh,
Hey,
I actually have to leave right now to go to another meeting. But before I do, thank you guys so much for this. I have actually learned a lot, especially in the last conversation about asking for funds and, you know, asking for less. I've actually experienced that when I write proposals and I ask for funding, I have to create the budget. Because of the work that we do and it's how intersectional it is, like it's a lot sometimes trying to cover all the different things, the social aspect of it, climate change aspect of it, trying to cover, you know, children and women's health and like all of these things in our projects, making sure that, you know, at least we target all these important groups. And we have an amazing project, but then does feel a bit weird, at least for me, a bit awkward in terms of asking for the entire grant. For example, if it's a grant for, let's say, 10,000 euro or US dollars, asking for the entire grant sometimes feels a bit weird for me. But I understand more so now that I should be okay with doing it because we need the funds for all the issues that we're trying to address. And in terms of sending an email to say, hey, this is not what I asked for. Can you tell me why I didn't get everything I asked for? That is definitely going to be the hardest part if we ever are in that situation. But thank you for all of that. I think I needed to hear it at this point to go forward in the work that I do and to help the people that I'm trying to help to the best of my ability to make sure when I send a proposal, I do it properly with the adequate funds and everything. So we're not trying to scramble to stretch it out as much as possible. So I think I really needed to hear that. And thank you so much. I wish I could have stayed for the yoga part.
well, I mean, if you want to stick around, I don't think Nicola's connection is as strong, so we could go into that now.
Oh,
Literally have
I wish I could, but the other one has already started. And
all right. Another time.
yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
thank you. Take care.
I love this space. Actually, this has been one of like the most interactive sessions that I have been in on Zoom. Like the connection for me, I feel like I'm with you guys. So
Yes.
thank you so much. Okay, bye.
Amazing. See you next time. Later. Take care. Yes, Natalie. So I'd say take us away into some pranayam.
Okay. I am gonna try and do a couple of things, but I'm gonna be speaking probably through it so I can visualize what your body might be doing. It's so fine to leave the camera off if you want to, so that you can really get into it and drop into it. The first thing I need you to just bring into your awareness is your posture. So wherever you're sitting, or if you're standing, maybe you want to sit for this, just so that you can your brain doesn't have to think about making you stand up or do anything. And I want you to think about the bottom of your spine, like right at the very bottom. Now, in our ancient, like if you go right back, we believe like there is a correlation between the spine and the snake. And at the base of your spine is where your sacral, there's like a sacral gland there that has a lot of energy in it. And I just want you to feel where the base of your spine is, and then trace each vertebrae up as you lengthen your spine. Now, as you're lengthening your spine, you're actually creating more space between it, and that's what I want you to imagine you're breathing in. You're breathing into the space between each of your bones going up your back. So you're really pulling them apart and inhaling into them. And as you exhale, the temptation is to collapse your spine, but I just want you to keep it extended. Now, as you reach like the top of your shoulders, I want you to take an inhale, lift your shoulders so you can feel what it feels like for them to be tensed. And then as you exhale, roll your shoulders back, slide your shoulder blades down your back. And the next thing you're going to do is let your belly drop. Now, we live in this kind of culture where it's like, you know, flat stomach is everything, but it's actually not that good for you. It's also restricting your breath. So just let your belly flop out. If you release your belly, you will begin to release your diaphragm and you will change the place in which you're breathing from. Now, as you relax your arms, there's no particular way to leave your arms, but sometimes it's good to leave your hands open and just rest them on your knees. Your hand open will allow not only energy to come out, but also energy to come in from the natural environment. So just leave your palms open. Now, because your eyes hopefully are closed, you might bring into your awareness, like you might hear like sounds that are happening around you, things that are happening around you. Maybe there are other people you're living with, different things like that. And I just want you to observe. You're not trying to block them out. You're aware of them, but you're just observing. Observing smells, sounds, taste of the air. Now, as you inhale, I want you to push your belly out. So you're really pushing your belly out and filling the base of your belly with air. And as you exhale, just let your belly relax and come back in. So you're not trying to focus on the lungs right now. You're trying to focus on your belly. You have like this, if you've ever seen a boat, like it's like a big flappy piece of flesh in your body that's your diaphragm. And actually it's like really good at creating momentum with your breath. So I just want you to allow yourself to sink into the bottom of your belly and take a nice deep breath. Let your belly fall out. If you need to roll your trousers down or something down so it's not restricted, it can really push out. That's fine. And then as you exhale, you're not trying to pull it back in, tense your belly. You're just trying to allow the air to just leave you. Now, what can sometimes happen is we think we don't have enough air, so we might breathe too quickly to try and bring it in. When you breathe quicker, you breathe shallower. So it's not going deep enough into your body to really have an effect. So concentrate on the depth of your breath. How long is it? How deep is it? Now I'm going to ask you to focus on your lungs. Now you have this instrument inside of your body. It's really powerful. It lets you sing, scream, talk, everything. But you cannot do any of it without your breath. So I'm going to ask you to just fill your lungs up like a balloon. And as you exhale, you're not going to dump the air out. You're going to slowly release it. And now you're going to invite the air back in. You're just going to welcome it into your body. So as you inhale, expand through welcoming it and inviting it into your body. And as you exhale, you're going to gently release it. Not too fast, slow right down. Now at this point, you might feel the wind. You might hear the birds. You're getting on the right frequency. Now we do a bit of both. It's like a symphony. So you're going to inhale through your belly, feel your belly expand. Let your belly come back in when it's ready. And now go to your lungs. Breathe through your lungs gently. Welcome the air in. And as you exhale, go slow, go slower than you think. Release your jaw, release the back of your neck. Keep breathing. And again, with every inhale, you're taking in what the trees and plants have left for you as food. And with every exhale, you're giving food back to them. That's not anything to do with money. That is everything to do with your existence and your relationship with the tree. Inhale, exhale. Now, if you've ever worked with instruments, sometimes there's a tuning tool where you tap it and it plays you a note. And that's how you can tune the vibrations to align with that sound, and you've tuned your instrument. Now, in this case, we're going to do something similar with our body. I want you to place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. You're going to take a nice, gentle breath in, and you're just going to hum internally. So you're not humming for the external people to hear you. You're humming for yourself internally, and I want you to feel it in your body. Now just breathe. That's like you tuning your body to the vibration that is connected to the nature around you. And in this place, you're not going to try and wrestle with any of your thoughts. You're not going to try and resist anything. It's very common that at this point, a to-do list pops in your mind and you're just going to laugh at it. You're not going to try and control it. You're just going to laugh at it and say, I'm not dealing with that right now. You're intentionally just being right now. Just be. Your breath is the first thing that you did when you entered this earth. Your breath is the last thing that you will do before you transition. And throughout this whole life, it has been a continuum of inhalations and exhalations the whole time. Listen to your breath now. Just give thanks to your breath for keeping you alive, even when you're asleep, even when you're stressed. This breath, this continuum, has been keeping you alive. It's also your deepest witness. Your breath has witnessed you through everything you've ever experienced in your life. And it's been with you. And sometimes it likes to show you flashbacks, like the highlights of things you've experienced. And you survived it. You survived through it. Because you're still breathing now. Take a nice big inhalation. Last hum. And when you're ready, keep your gaze low. Slowly open your eyes. Let your eyes get used to it. And that is to close out. You don't have to speak. You don't have to say anything. Sometimes I like to just be quiet after. So it's fine if that's how you feel. That was a very short taster, but that's kind of like how we begin our relationship with our breath.
I have to talk.
You do have to.
I wish I didn't have to, but and yes, that's a beautiful power of centering the breath. Thank you for realigning us or giving us that moment to pause after the session to reconnect with ourselves, which is what I've been saying is, important part of the work. And so, yes, Venice and Vincent, just drop in the chat. I know you both probably can't talk on the mic, but just drop in the chat if you feel inclined, so we know how are you feeling after this breath work exercise. And if you can talk, Vincent, sure thing, you can come on. But we're at the end of our session. And as you guys take your time to reflect in the chat, I'm just gonna go ahead and close us out in the word, right? So thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you, Natalie, for being here with us. Nicola, thank you for being here and attempting to join us despite circumstances. You've both reminded us that regeneration isn't just about the land, it's about us too. And it's about healing, it's about reconnecting, redistributing, and reimagining, and being creative with money and using it like a paintbrush. In order to live in this world that we want to thrive in. So as we close, I'd like to remind everybody to, one, if you haven't already, I'll send the link again to just sign up. I know you have already, Vincent, but if you haven't, Venice, just check the link in the, I have this, I don't want to lose this note. Let me copy it real quick. 1 second. Yeah, just I'll send the link again right now. Just sign up if you haven't already, Venice. I'll send it in the chat as well. And also, Natalie, I'll send you the link to our WhatsApp group so you can join the community and sign up with us. We'd love to have you as a member of the Carrefour Alliance. And so, yeah, I'll reach out to you guys. And yes, thank you all for being here and for showing up and participating and continuing the building of this beautiful movement. Have a great
Thank you. Thank you, Jamila, for the space also. It's very, very, yeah. I feel like you're embodying regenerative energy by consistently holding it. So thank you.
We give thanks.
Thank you. Oh, that's nice
Thank
feedback.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yes, feeling great. The best I've ever. Wow. I love that. The best I've ever. Wow. Yes.
Good. I'm glad.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
this energy with you today, everybody, and wishing you all the very best until our next meeting. Guidance. Take care.